Stop being the backup plan. Here's how to say no without guilt. Have you ever found yourself agreeing to something not because you truly wanted to, but because you didn't want to disappoint someone? Maybe it's helping out with something you don't have the energy for, or saying yes to an invitation even when you know it'll drain you. We've all been there, especially as we get older, right? The constant pressure to be there for others, to step in, to be the backup plan can really start to wear us down. And the worst part, it can leave us feeling guilty when we finally try to put ourselves first. But here's the thing, it's not selfish to say no. In fact, it's necessary for your well-being. No one wants to feel like they're always on the sidelines, waiting to be called in only when it's convenient for others. And for seniors, this can be especially important. You've lived through decades of putting others first, whether it's children, family, or friends, but now it's time to start putting yourself on that list. In this video, we're going to explore 5 simple ways seniors can begin to say no without feeling guilty. It's not about being harsh or unkind. It's about reclaiming your time, your peace, and your energy. If you've ever wished you could put a stop to the constant cycle of overcommitting, then this video is for you. Let's jump right into the first way to take back control. The first step to saying no without guilt is to acknowledge that you deserve to put yourself first. For many of us, especially as we get older, we've spent a lifetime putting others' needs ahead of our own. Our children, our partners, our friends, they've always come first. But now it's time to reflect on your own needs. You might be thinking, but I've always been there for others. And that's wonderful. But here's the hard truth. If you're constantly running on empty, you won't have anything left to give. Think about it this way. If you're on a plane and the oxygen masks drop, what's the first thing the flight attendants tell you to do? Put your mask on before helping others. It's the same concept. You can't help anyone else if you're not taking care of yourself first. Acknowledging that you deserve to take a step back and prioritize your own health and happiness isn't selfish. It's necessary. So how can you start doing this? The first step is to recognize your limits. It might sound simple, but when was the last time you really thought about how much you can handle? Most of us don't take the time to think about what we need. We just keep going, saying yes because we feel obligated. But when you acknowledge your limits, you give yourself the permission to say no when you need to. It's about recognizing that your time and energy are valuable, and it's okay to not always be available. I want to share a little story with you. A friend of mine, let's call her Linda, had been helping out her neighbor with grocery shopping every week for months. She'd never really thought about how much time it took or how tired she was afterward. One day, Linda stopped and thought, wait a minute, I've been doing this for months, and it's taking a toll on me. She realized that she could still be there for her neighbor, but it didn't have to be every week. She decided to set a boundary and only help out every other week. It wasn't easy at first. She felt guilty and worried about what her neighbor would think. But you know what? Her neighbor understood, and now Linda has more time to focus on her own needs. So start by asking yourself, what do I need right now? Is there something I'm saying yes to out of obligation that I could say no to in order to feel better? Trust yourself to know your limits. Now, moving on to the next point. Once you've acknowledged your right to put yourself first, the next step is learning how to say no in a way that feels comfortable for you. Saying no doesn't have to be harsh or mean. In fact, it can be done in a way that's respectful and kind. And it's all about practicing what works for you. One way to do this is by being direct but gentle. You don't need to offer long explanations or make excuses. A simple, I'm sorry, but I can't help out this time, is enough. It's okay to be short and to the point. You don't owe anyone an elaborate justification for taking care of yourself. The more you practice this, the easier it will become to say no without feeling guilty. You might be wondering, what if I hurt someone's feelings? I get it. No one wants to disappoint their loved ones. But the truth is, people will respect you more when you honor your boundaries. If you're always saying yes, people may start to expect it, and it can create resentment on both sides. But when you start saying no, you teach Americans to respect your time too. It's a learning process, but one that can ultimately make your relationship stronger. And remember, no is a complete sentence. You don't need to justify your decision or explain yourself. If someone pushes back or asks for more details, simply say, I've already made other plans, or I'm not able to take that on right now. The more confident you are in saying no, the less guilt you'll feel. Now that we've covered the first 2 points, let's move on to the next part. We've talked about the importance of recognizing your limits and learning how to say no kindly. But there's more to it than that. Next, we're going to explore how to handle the guilt that often comes with saying no. Stay tuned. Now that we've talked about the importance of recognizing your limits and learning how to say no in a way that feels comfortable, let's dive into how to handle the guilt that often creeps in when you start setting boundaries. Because let's be honest, it's tough to say no without feeling a little guilty, right? You might think, what if they really need me? What if they're disappointed in me? Those feelings are completely natural, but they don't have to control you. The first step to overcoming that guilt is recognizing that your guilt is often more about other people's expectations than your own needs. Think about it. When you say no to someone, are you truly upset, or is it the fear of what the other person might think that's causing you stress? Sometimes we feel guilty because we're worried about disappointing someone, but the reality is it's okay to disappoint people once in a while. It's not the end of the world. People understand that we have our own lives, needs, and limitations. When we constantly say yes, we're teaching others that we have no limits. But when we say no, we're setting a healthy example of how to balance caring for others with caring for ourselves. One way to shift your mindset is to remind yourself that you can still care without overcommitting. For example, let's say a close friend asks you to help them with a big project, but you're already stretched thin with your own responsibilities. Instead of feeling guilty for saying no, remind yourself that your decision to take care of yourself doesn't mean you care any less about your friend. In fact, setting a boundary might even give you the space to help in other ways that are more manageable for you. Maybe you can lend emotional support, offer advice, or even just listen, which is sometimes what people need most. You can still be there for someone without overextending yourself. The second thing to consider when you feel guilty about saying no is to reframe your thoughts around self-care. This is key. When you prioritize your own needs, you're not being selfish. You're being self-aware and self-respecting. And let me tell you, self-care isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. You can't pour from an empty cup, and if you're constantly saying yes and running yourself ragged, you won't have the energy or mental clarity to help anyone, let alone yourself. Here's an example. Let's say your adult child asks for your help with babysitting their kids. You'd love to help, but you've had a busy week and you're really craving some downtime. Instead of saying yes and feeling drained afterward, you could say, I'd love to help, but I need some rest today. How about next weekend? By saying no now, you're giving yourself the chance to recharge and be in a better state to help out later. And that's not selfish. It's recognizing your own needs so you can be your best self when you do offer help. Now, another thing to keep in mind when you're learning to say no is don't over-apologize. This is something a lot of people, especially seniors, tend to do. When we say no, we sometimes feel the need to apologize repeatedly as if we've done something wrong. But let's get this straight, and saying no isn't wrong. It's a healthy, necessary part of maintaining balance in your life. You don't need to apologize for protecting your time and energy. Instead of saying, I'm so sorry, but I can't do that, try saying, I'm not able to help right now, or that's not something I can take on today. By keeping your response simple and clear, you're showing that your decision is firm, and it doesn't require an apology. You have the right to make choices that work for you without feeling like you're letting anyone down. Over-apologizing can make it seem like you're doing something wrong, when in fact you're just setting a boundary. This brings us to the next point, learning to say no to toxic people or situations. Sometimes saying no is about protecting yourself from negativity. As we get older, we realize that life is too short to deal with people or situations that drain our energy and bring us down. You may have people in your life who constantly ask for favors without offering anything in return. Or perhaps there are situations that seem to require your involvement, but leave you feeling exhausted and unappreciated. When you're dealing with toxic people or situations, saying no becomes a powerful act of self-preservation. It's not about being unkind, it's about valuing your peace of mind. Let me share a story about a friend of mine, Eleanor. She had a neighbor who frequently asked her to help with errands, even though Eleanor had her own busy schedule. Over time, Eleanor started to feel resentful because her neighbor never seemed to return the favor. She realized that she needed to set a boundary and stop saying yes every time. When she started saying no, her stress level decreased, and she felt much more in control of her time. Saying no wasn't rude, it was a way to protect her own happiness. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by a person or situation, ask yourself, is this benefiting me, or is it taking more than I can give? And if it's taking more than you can give, it's time to say no. As we wrap up this section, I want to remind you that it's okay to feel guilty at first. It's a natural emotion, but it doesn't have to control you. Learning to say no is a practice. It takes time, but with every no you say, you'll build more confidence in your ability to honor your needs and boundaries. And when you start to let go of guilt, you'll make room for more joy, peace, and fulfillment in your life. Now, we've covered quite a bit. We talked about overcoming guilt, reframing self-care, and learning to say no to toxic situations. But there's one more piece to this puzzle that will really help you solidify your ability to say no without guilt. In the next part, we'll explore how to empower yourself through positive reinforcement. Stick around. Now that we've talked about how to overcome the guilt of saying no and the importance of setting boundaries, let's explore how you can empower yourself through positive reinforcement. This is a crucial part of the process because, just like any other skill, saying no requires practice and encouragement. So, how do you reinforce your new habit of saying no and make it stick? One way to do this is by celebrating your small wins. Every time you successfully say no without feeling guilty, take a moment to acknowledge it. It doesn't matter if it's something small, like turning down an invitation, or letting go of a request that doesn't serve you. Recognizing these moments helps you build confidence in your ability to take care of yourself and maintain your boundaries. Over time, this positive reinforcement will make saying no feel more natural, and you'll feel less and less guilty as you continue to prioritize your needs. For example, let's say you've decided to say no to volunteering for yet another community event, even though it's for a cause you care about. At first, you might feel a little bit of guilt creeping in, but afterward, take a moment to reflect. I made a decision that's best for my well-being. I have the right to enjoy my time, and I can contribute in other ways, on my terms. Remind yourself of the reasons why you chose to say no, and give yourself credit for making that choice. The more you recognize the value of your decision, the easier it will become to continue practicing it. Another way to reinforce your decision is by reminding yourself of the positive impact of saying no. When you say no to one thing, you're often saying yes to something more important: your time, your health, your peace of mind. Remember, every time you say no, you're saying yes to yourself, and the benefits of this are immeasurable. You'll feel more energized, more in control, and more present in the things that truly matter to you. This is especially important as we age. Protecting your energy becomes a priority. Think about it. When you stop overcommitting, you have more time and mental space to enjoy the things you love. Maybe it's spending more time with family, pursuing a hobby you've always wanted to try, or simply having the peace to rest and recharge. By reinforcing these positive outcomes, you'll start to feel more empowered in saying no, knowing that you're creating more space for the things that truly bring you joy. The next point I want to touch on is surrounding yourself with people who respect your boundaries. When you begin to say no, there may be some people in your life who don't understand or may push back. It can be hard to deal with these reactions, but it's important to remember that the people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries. Over time, they'll learn that your no doesn't mean you don't care. It simply means you're taking care of yourself. If someone consistently disregards your boundaries, it may be time to reevaluate that relationship. You deserve to be around people who lift you up, not those who pressure you into overextending yourself. Surround yourself with supportive friends, family, and peers who understand and encourage your decision to prioritize your own needs. Here's a small example. My friend Carol, who's in her 70s, has always been a people pleaser. She would say yes to every invitation, every favor, and every request, even when it left her feeling drained. But over time, she started to make small changes. She began to say no to things she didn't want to do. And while some people initially didn't understand, those who truly cared about her supported her. Now Carol feels more empowered to make decisions that work for her, and she's surrounded by people who understand and respect her boundaries. This brings us to the last point I want to share today, which is to practice self-compassion. Saying no can feel uncomfortable at first, and it's okay to not get it right every time. Don't be hard on yourself if you slip up and say yes to something you really didn't want to. The important thing is to recognize that you're on a journey, and this is a skill you're learning. Treat yourself with kindness and patience as you build this new habit. When you practice self-compassion, you'll be able to let go of the guilt more easily and move forward with confidence. Remember, it's okay to make mistakes. What matters is that you keep trying and keep improving. You're learning to protect your energy and your well-being, and that's something to be proud of. Now that we've covered all 5 ways you can start saying no without guilt, let's quickly review what we've learned. First, we talked about acknowledging that you deserve to put yourself first. Then, we explored how to say no in a way that feels comfortable for you. After that, we discussed how to handle the guilt that often accompanies saying no and how to reframe your mindset around self-care. We also talked about the importance of positive reinforcement and surrounding yourself with people who respect your boundaries. Finally, we wrapped up with the need to practice self-compassion as you navigate this new skill. I want to leave you with this reminder. It's okay to put yourself first. In fact, it's necessary. By saying no when you need to, you're giving yourself the space to live a fuller, more peaceful life. It's a journey, and it won't always be easy, but every step you take toward honoring your boundaries is a step toward a happier, more fulfilled you. So I encourage you to reflect on what's been weighing on you. Is there something you've been saying yes to out of guilt or obligation? Maybe it's time to practice saying no. Start small, be kind to yourself, and remember, you deserve to have your own time, your own energy, and your own peace of mind. Thank you for watching today, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever struggled with saying no? What's one thing you're going to say no to this week to protect your time and energy? Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe for more tips on living your best life at any age. Here's to putting yourself first. You've earned it. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. If this video gave you something to think about or made you smile, please give it a like, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe for more wisdom every week. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and join the conversation. Your voice matters. Your story matters. Until next time, stay wise, stay kind, and take care.